Hi, my favorite second graders. Welcome back to week 28. This is the last week of class before we get spring break, so I know you're excited about that. So anyway, today we are going to learn 3 lessons, 117, 118, and 119. So if you want to have your pages with you to look at while I do it, that'd be great. If it's okay with your parents and you want to just watch these and then do the A1s by yourself later, that's fine too. But anyway, all these guys are excited and we're ready to get going. So our first lesson is going to be 117. Zoom in a little bit. Don't want to zoom in too much because I want you guys to be able to see it. Okay, we'll try it there. I'm just going to remember to stay scooted down. Okay, so this is lesson 117, side A. I know you guys are good at measuring, so we'll skip the name and date part and we'll just start with the instructions. So we want to look for keywords. The children were walking in pairs. George counted 8 pairs of children. Draw X's to show the children. I think they don't want to spend a lot of time drawing what the kids look like. So they're walking in pairs, so that means they're walking in groups of 2. So I like to think about this as a long hallway. And instead of walking single file, they're walking right next to each other. So I'm going to say they're walking that direction. And so I'm going to do a little arrow. You don't have to do this, but it makes it more fun. And these 2 guys are the line leaders because they're in the front. And then there's 2 people behind them. And 2 people behind them. Putting lots of space in between them so that we can tell for sure what the pairs are. So we have 1, and pair means 2. So a pair means a group of 2. Like a pair of socks is 2 socks. A pair of shoes is 2 shoes. I don't know why they call it a pair of pants because it's just 1 pair of pants, but that's what they call it. So we have 1 pair, 2 pairs, 3 pairs, 4 pairs, 5 pairs, 6 pairs, 7 pairs, 8 pairs. Okay, so we have, how many children is that? So let's just count by 2s. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. 16 children. Now we're going to count the money. What I like about counting money this way is notice they put all the coins from the ones that are worth the most to the ones that are worth the least. First of all, we need to make sure we can recognize them. So if it's big like this, and it's got the word Liberty and a picture of George Washington, we know it's a quarter. So I'm going to put a Q. And this is what a back of a quarter looks like. A lot of them look different nowadays because they have state quarters and stuff like that. But you can always tell the quarters because they're a little bit rougher around the edges. That's a dime. It's worth 10 cents. That's what the back of a nickel looks like. And another nickel. And another nickel. And Abraham Lincoln on the front is a penny. So make sure you know what they all are before you start. You need to be able to recognize them whether they're facing the front or facing the back. So that's the front, back, front, back, front, back, front. Okay? So now we're just going to add up the money in order, going from the biggest coins to the smallest coins in amount. So it's 25. 25 plus 25 is 50. Plus 10 is 60. 65, 70, 75, 76. So we have 76 cents. And then we also have to be able to write it the other way. So we do our dollar sign. And it's $0. And then after the decimal point, you just write the amounts. But notice I don't write a cent sign there because if you use the dollar sign, you're not allowed to use a cent sign. And if you use a cent sign, you're not allowed to use the dollar sign. Okay. Now they want us to measure the sides of the rectangle in problem 2 using inches. So I forgot to grab my ruler, so I'm going to go grab it real quick. Okay, so I'm going to measure the long side. And it's exactly 6 inches. I'm going to write 6 inches up here. Now, I could measure the bottom one, but notice it's exactly the same. So I'm going to put 6 inches right there too. Now I'm going to measure the sides of my rectangle. And again, notice how I put the ruler not at the edge of the ruler, but at the 0 mark. And that's exactly 1 inch. Don't forget those little quotation marks mean inches. Oops, I forgot they had a place for me to write it right down here. Okay, and I already had the quotation marks. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my finger here. The best way to think about perimeter is you want to walk all the way around, and it's if you were going to travel all the way around, how far would you travel? So I'm going to put capital P for perimeter, and I'm going to travel 6 inches plus 1 inch plus 6 inches plus 1 inch. 6 plus 1 is 7, 7 plus 6 is 13, and 13 plus 1 is 14. Or you can think that's 7 and that's 7, and 7 plus 7 is 14. Here's kind of a cool story. I was tutoring a student, and I was helping him get ready for college, and he was in 10th grade, and he was given a perimeter problem, and he couldn't remember what perimeter was. So if you guys can remember what perimeter is, next time you see it in a problem, without being reminded, you will know as much as that boy that was getting ready to go to college next year. Okay. Find an example of parallel lines in the classroom. Well, since we're not in the classroom, I'm going to scratch that out, and I'm going to write in your home. So I'm going to tilt the camera up, and we're going to look around and see if we can find some parallel lines. So let's see what we've got. So I'm going to look at the wall over here. I think a lot of you know Mrs. Sassone. So I'm going to zoom into the picture of Mrs. Sassone. Okay, I don't know how well you can see that, but that's Mrs. Sassone. And tilt it up a little bit. And you'll notice the picture frame has parallel lines because the top of the picture, the top line of the brown picture frame and the bottom line are parallel, and the two on the sides are parallel. I'm going to come around here. I don't know how well we can see with the sun shining through the window, but there's the window pane looking out to my front yard, and you'll notice that there's some sideways lines on the window pane, and those are all parallel. The horizontal ones and the vertical ones are also parallel. I'm trying to think of what else I have in here. Do it over here. We'll just travel. I don't know how well this is going to work. But there are some piano keys for playing the piano. And you notice the lines between all the keys? Those are parallel. And I think that's probably enough. Let me get my tripod back. So all of those are examples of parallel lines in mine. So let me go back down here and get back to our picture. And zoom back in. Okay, so what did we find? So you don't have to write all these, you can just write whatever you found at your house. I put a horizontal frame of window, lines, top and bottom on picture frame. And if you notice here, all of these lines are parallel. So I'm going to put markings on ruler. And you don't have to write all this, but if you could have your parent, tell your parents, look around the room that you're in and tell your parents 2 or 3 things of parallel lines that you see. Now we're going to do time. And we're going to start doing these a little bit different way. We're going to mark the minute hand first, because the minute hand is going to help us know where to put the hour hand. So we know this comes afterward, and so we always start at 12 and we count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So our minute hand is pointing to the 9. Now comes the tricky part. How do you write the hour hand? We know it's 6:45, so we know it's between 6 and 7. But now we have to decide if it goes right in the middle, if it's a little bit closer to 6, or if it's a little bit closer, a little bit closer to 6 or a little bit closer to 7. So remember, as we move it around, when we used to play with the yellow clocks in class, remember that when you turn the minute hand, the hour hand moved by itself, and we went over halfway around. So it's over, so when it got to 6:30, it would have been halfway between 6:30 and 7, plus we went some more. So since we went 3/4 of the way around the clock, we have to go 3/4 of the way from 6 to 7. So I'm going to make it a bit closer to 7. Okay. Okay. Next, for number 6, it says, draw a line of symmetry in each shape and color 1/2 of each shape. The triangle is easy because there's only one line of symmetry. So I'm going to very carefully go from the point to the midpoint. So it's going to be about there. I'm going to put a little dot there so I know where to put my ruler. And I like to make my lines of symmetry dotted because that's how you're going to have to do it when you get to middle school. And it says color 1/2 of each shape. And if I remember correctly, a lot of you guys really liked purple. So I chose purple. Now this one is kind of interesting. And remember, when you cut it in half, it's so that when you fold it, it exactly matches on itself. So if I did it straight down, I could fold it over and it would match on itself. I could also do it through those two lines and it would fold over and match by itself. So you get your choice. I'm going to do it down the middle because that one seems more obvious to me. Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to do it on the side, and here's why. Because it'll be easy to get exactly halfway if I can line up the points. Okay. Color. Should have gotten another color so I could use two people's favorite colors, but I didn't think about it in time. Okay. Now these are getting longer and crazier. And what they like you to do is to make 10s. So 4 and 6 make a 10. 2 and 8 make a 10. 7 and 3 make a 10. And 9 and 1 make a 10. Okay? Oops, probably should switch over. Okay, now just so I don't get confused, I'm going to go through and I'm going to underline all the numbers that aren't 10 so I can remember to add those later. That was a 10, that was a 10, that made a 10, that made a 10, that made a 10, that made a 10. That one didn't make a 10, so I'm going to underneath it, underline it. That one made a 10 and that one made a 10. So the only one I have that's not going to be part of the 10s is this one. So I will add everything that gets underlined, you add at the end. So 10 plus 10 is 20. 20 plus 10 is 30. 30 plus 10 is 40. And the only other number I haven't counted is that one. So the answer is 44. Okay. Now we have 83 minus 75. So I'm going to rewrite it up here so we have enough room to do it. And now we're going to think about our subtraction rules. So 3 minus 5. If I only have 3 ones and I have to take away 5, I can't do it. So I need to find some more ones. So I'm going to take one of my 10s. I used to have 8 10s. I'm going to take one of them away. So I only have 7 10s left and change it into 10 ones. Well, 10 ones and 3 ones makes 13 ones. I'm going to put a little 13 there. So that means 8 10s and 3 ones is the same as 7 10s and 13 ones. 13 minus 5 is 8. And 7 minus 7 is 0. So I could put 0 there and it would be 0, 8, but that's the same as 8, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, now we have 63. They never give us enough room to work on these, do they? 63 plus 21 plus 34. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. 6 plus 2 is 8. 8 plus 3 is 11. 110, carry that. So 63 plus 21 plus 34 is 118. And that's the end of 117A. I'm sorry about why it's so blurry. My copier is messing up and I'm not sure what to do about that. So let's start with a word problem. Quentin has 9 baseball cards. Curtis has twice as many baseball cards as Quentin. How many baseball cards does Curtis have? This is a new one. So we know we've got to add up all of Quentin's plus all of Curtis's. And they're probably going to be big numbers, so I'm going to do it on the side. So we know Quentin has 9. And if we knew how many Curtis have, then we could find out. Oh, never mind. It wasn't even asking that. So how many baseball cards does Curtis have? So if he has twice as many, whenever you see twice as many in a phrase, that always means the exact same thing as double. So if I said, Kylie Faith has 5 stuffed animals, and Sophie has twice as many, then if Kylie Faith had 5 and Sophie had twice as many, we would just double the 5, and that meant Sophie would have 10. Here's another example. Let's suppose that John has, I'm just thinking of some numbers. Let's suppose John has 7 cookies. And Winnie has twice as many cookies as John. Then how many cookies does Winnie have? Well, since twice as many means double, Winnie would have 14 cookies. Okay, let's suppose that Hannah had $8. So she had $8. And Chloe had twice as much money as Hannah. If Chloe had twice as much money as Hannah, then Chloe would have double 8 or $16. Okay, so now we're going to do Quentin and Curtis. So Quentin has 9 baseball cards and Curtis has twice as many. How many does Curtis have? So twice as many means we double it and we get 18. Okay, so now we're going to do number 2. There are 5 children in line. Draw the children. So this is going to be the front of the line. Let's make sure I do it right. 5 children in line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You are 4th. Circle yourself. So first, second person in line, third person in line, 4th person in line. How many children are before you? 1, 2, 3. How many children are after you? 1. So see, these aren't necessarily, neither one of them had anything to do with the number 4, did they? So you really want to draw pictures while you think of these. Okay, we've done these before. Each number is between what 2 tens? Actually, we haven't done this before. This is new. So this is going to help us. Pretty soon we're going to learn how to estimate. And so this is kind of a start of that. So if you look at the number 17, the number that is, the tens number that's before that is 10. And the one after that is 20. And when it says circle the 10, each number would be rounded to. When you round a number, what you're trying to do is find the number that ends in 0 that's closest to that one. So you got to think, is 17 closer to the number 10 or is it closer to the number 20? And since it's over halfway on the number line and 7 is closer to to 10 than it is to 0, the answer is going to be 20. Okay? So I'm going to give you a minute. I want you to think of the 2 tens. What 10 number is a little bit less than 43, and what 10 number is the closest one after 43? So it's going to be 40. Even if this is confusing now, it'll get pretty easy in a couple weeks. Okay? So 40 is the tens number before 43, and 50 is the tens number after 43. And then you got to think about the number 43. Is it closer to 40 or is it closer to 50? 3 is pretty small, so it's closer to 40. Okay, now for this one, so you think about the 2 tens numbers. The 10 before 35 is 30, and the 10 after 35, if you are counting, is 40. Now this one's interesting because you'll notice that 35 is exactly halfway, because 5 is right in the middle of 0 and 10. So 35 is right exactly in the middle of 30 and 40. Now here's kind of a weird rule that they just made up for math, so you just got to memorize it. That's if it's exactly halfway between the 2 numbers, you always go with the bigger number. Okay. So, and again, I'm sorry this is a little fuzzy, but it should look okay on your prints. My printer's just messing up. Gina has 2 quarters, 3 dimes, 2 nickels, and a penny. Draw the coins and then count how much money she has. So when we draw these, we want to do it in order from the ones that are worth the most to the ones that are worth the least. And that's the order that they wrote them, so that's good. I'm not even going to do the circles because I think it's easier to read. So we have 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 1 dime, 2 dimes, 3 dimes, 1 nickel, 2 nickels, and 1 penny. So we're going to start counting, and we'll do it just like we did in problem 118. 25, 50, 60, 70, 80, 85, 90, 91. So we have 91 cents. We'll write it the easy way first. And then the other way is with the dollar sign. We have $0 and we do our decimal point and 91 cents. And even though we say the word cents, we're not allowed to write it because the dollar sign takes care of it. Okay? So this one, it's kind of nice. It's counting by 5s, and we've been counting by 5s all year. But this is where it gets a little trickier. It's counting up to 100 is easy, but then we've got to keep going past 100. So after 100 is 105, 110, 115, 120. Okay. Now for the second one, it's going to be a totally different pattern. So we've got to look and see what's happening. 46, 56, 66. So it looks like it's going up by 10 every time. And so, but since it's going up by 10, we're going to keep going up by 10. 76, 86, 96. Now, if it's going up by 10 this direction, it's going backwards by 10 this direction. So that'll be 36, 26, 16. And we're done. Okay. Find the answers. Okay. First of all, in your head, you notice all of these are times 2. So, or both of these, sorry, are times 2. So remember what we talked about times 2 last week. Times, whenever you see a number multiplied by 2, the rule is, see if you can say the rule before I say it. The rule for when you have to multiply by 2 is, hopefully you said double the number that's not 2. So 6 times 2 is the same as 6 plus 6, which is 12. 8 times 2 is the same as 8 doubled, or 8 plus 8, which is 16. And then 4 times 5, remember we did this before when we were still in class, is we're going to count by 5s with our fingers. So first of all, I want everyone to hold up 4 fingers so you know how what 4 is when you get there. So everybody should have 4 fingers up like that. So we know when we count by 5s and we get to that number of fingers, we know to stop. Okay? 5, 10, 15, 20, freeze. Pretty soon you'll have those memorized, but until then it's okay to count. Okay, now this is a long addition problem, so we need to write it up and down. You can probably write it over here, but since it's so dark for me, I'm going to write it up here. 18, 6, plus 52. So notice the 1s are lined up with the 1s, and the 10s are lined up with the 10s, but there is no 10 there. Okay? So 8 plus 6 is 16. 8 plus 6 is 14. 14 plus 2 is 16. That's 6 1s and 1 10. 1 10 plus 1 10 is 2 10s. There's no 10s here, so I'm not going to count them. 2 10s plus 5 10s is 7 10s. So the answer is 76. Now we have 63 minus 49. So I'm going to write it over here because remember we always have to write them up and down. 3 1s minus 9 1s, we can't do it because we only have 3 1s and we've got to take away 9 1s. So we've got to get some more 1s. So we're going to take one of our 6 10s, and we're only going to have 5 10s left, and we're going to make, so that's going to be 10 1s that we got from the 110 plus the 3 1s we already had. 13 minus 9 is 4, and 5 minus 4 is 1. So 63 minus 49 is 14. And last one, and then we'll move on to the next lesson. 38 plus 42. So 2 plus 8 is 10. So that's 0 ones and 1 10. So we'll put a 0 in the ones place and 1 10. So we'll put 1 10 in the tens place. 1 plus 3 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. The answer is 80. And that's the end of the second lesson. Now we are going to start on the last lesson we have to do before spring break. Okay. I'm going to have to hurry because I only have 3 minutes left. There are 5 desks in the room. TJ put 3 books on each desk. Draw the books on the desk. Actually, I don't think I can finish this in 3 minutes, so I'm going to stop the video and start another one. Okay, I'm back. Okay. There are 5 desks in the room. TJ put 3 books on each desk. Draw the books on the desks. So I'm going to draw the books first and then make a desk around it. So, oops. Just 3 books on each desk. I messed that up. Okay, so there's a desk. So the big boxes are the desks and the little boxes I need 5 desks. So I have 1 desk, 2 desks, 3 desks. Let me make sure I did that right. So I have 1 desk, 2 desks, 3 desks, 4 desks, 5 desks. So we're only going to count the books. So the books are the little ones inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 books. Okay. Round each number to the nearest 10. Okay, this is going to be a big jump from because we just learned the other thing. So first of all, if you still want to, I'm going to do it here just to kind of help me. The tens number that's less than 27 is 20, and the one that's more than 27 is 30. So I know that when I round it to the nearest 10, it's either going to be 20 or 30, and I have to think of which one 27 is closer to, and it's closer to 30, so I'm going to put 30. Now for 52, the 2 numbers that I'm choosing between are 50 and 60, and 52 is going to be closer to 50 than 60 because 2 is closer to 0 than it is to 10. And 45 is exactly in the middle. And if you remember the rule, when it's exactly in the middle, we always go up. Okay. Now we're going to measure some segments using the centimeters on our ruler, but I want to make sure we're going to be measuring vertical, horizontal, and oblique. So measure the vertical line segment on the left. So I got to think vertical means up and down, so it's either going to be this one and this one. This one's on my left, this one's on my right. So the first measurement is going to be this one. And when you do your centimeters, you want to make sure you're on the smaller sizes, which makes the numbers go bigger. So I'm going to line up exactly on 0, and you'll notice it goes all the way to 7. 7 centimeters. Measure the vertical line segment on the right. So I'm going to measure this one next. I'm going to write it here just to make sure that I'm kind of, uh-oh, I dropped my pen, hang on. Bumped my head on the table. So I line my 0 up, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 centimeters. I'll write it right here. The horizontal line segment. There's only one that's horizontal. It's also 4. That's actually a little bit of an optical illusion because that one looks longer, doesn't it? Measure the oblique line segment. And remember, oblique means diagonal. And looks like it is 5 centimeters. And I'm going to be extra glad I wrote it like this. Here's why. The next question says, what is the perimeter? So put your finger on here and walk all the way around. So 7 plus 4 is 11. 11 plus 4 is 15. 15 plus 5 is 20. 20 centimeters. Okay. And let me go grab some. Okay. So it says, trace the parallel line segments in problem 3 using a red crayon. I'm going to do it with a red colored pencil. So this one's vertical and this one's vertical, so they're both going the same direction, so I'm going to make those red. Okay. Find an example of a cylinder in the classroom. Well, I'm looking around here and I don't see very many cylinders for me. So you just do it around yours. If you have a water bottle, that's probably a cylinder. If you have a can of Pringles, that's a cylinder. Actually, I found a couple things. Let me zoom out for them. Okay. If I look over here, I have some plants. So that one flower pot is a cylinder, and so is that squirt bottle for my plants. And I don't see any other cylinders in my room, so that's all I got. I'm not drinking a water bottle right now. I don't have my coffee with me, so that's all I got. Okay, so I'm going to say plant container and then find spheres. I don't have any spheres, but if you have a ball, like a tennis ball or a baseball or a basketball, that would be a sphere. If you've got an orange, or an apple's almost a sphere, but not quite, but an orange is more closely. Write 617 using digits. Write it in expanded form. We've done this a lot. I'm going to skip these because the video is already getting kind of long and we've done all of those before. So just do all the rules that we did last time. And I hope everybody has a good spring break. My students here are pretty excited about spring break. You can see that they're getting pretty psyched up for it. And I will see everybody later. Bye.